Yes, we continue with the percussion. In the percussion, there are a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 channels. And then there's a tame percussion group that also has channels 1, 2, and 3. I've created a group. Actually, I've created 2 separate groups. I have an additional element here. The element that drives the piece the most is this element. Let's take a look at our first channel. Let's take a look at our first element. This is 30. I've panned it to the left. Let's actually listen to all the percussion together. As you can clearly see, it's quite evidently driven by shakers and drums. There are some sounds. See, the first element. It's a very nice groove. Then we have a second element that will correspond to this. It's panned using a 30 parameter, this time to the right. This is different. This isn't really a keyboard style element. Again, in the same way, there are 16th note sections. Then percussion 1, I've panned this a bit like this. I've got the field, pan it. A percussion similar to the previous one, but with a brighter tone. And again, with 16th note sections. There's a really sweet groove. Then we have a second percussion. What is this? This is quite something. I've got a serious sustain on this one, but I've kept the volume a bit low. Then we have our tambourines. This is like that. This one goes like an 8th note. I've really brought this down quite a bit, minus 29, around. Then right after that we have a snare that we call a field, which is a snare that builds up. Here's an attack. Start the drop of the track. It's rising, rising, rising. And go from A. Super. And here we have a second group. As I said tame percussion. These a little more, I wanted to train it as far as I understand. There's a percussion drop there. That's moving forward with a really nice pan. Again, 8th note hits. Very rhythmic. Very nice. I've kept this in the center. I haven't panned it. Right below, I have a tambourine that I panned 25 left. The thing itself is already biased to the left. Actually, I used this. A nice groove. Then, in contrast to that, I have a shaker that I panned 25 to the right. They are together. Our first group is like this. Our first group really drives the piece. Here's a group. When combined with the other second tame percussions, all our percussions are quite broad like this. It sounds wide. This piece is quite captivating. And if we hear it again together with the lock, we're dropping section of the piece, so all the elements are present right now. Super. Then, within the arrangement of the piece, We've made placements where they seem to get lost and then reappear. We'll take a look at this again in the arrangement section. In what I call tempered cushion, I've only used a glue compressor. I haven't done any makeup, but it turned out pretty trashy. I compressed it by lowering it. I've managed to get it to compress. Compressor off. Yeah, many controls came out. As you can see right now, the transients, more this way. We compressed it and made sure it fits within the mix. If we look at our first group, we did not do any complex or other effect work there. Just panning, and actually by doing gain staging with the volume. We've balanced its own internal sound. Then we combined these two groups and created a group called Alt Percussion. Our main processor is right here. Let's turn it off and listen for a moment. We've used 4 plugins. When these weren't there, they're pretty low and they got lost, as you can see. At first I used the Center, which is a plugin from Waves. I can say that I actually use it quite a lot. This plugin, the mono sounds, to lower or raise the volume, and in the same way to be able to cut or boost the sounds that will be on the sides. And should I send the bass highs or punch to the center or to the sides? In this way, this is a plugin that allows you to do nice manipulation. I use this often. I've done this lightly and taken about 1 to 3 dB from the center so that the kick doesn't clash with it in the same way. In the mix, center is active now. Let me turn off the center. As you can see, while gathering more in the center, I've also slightly boosted the side by about 1.5 dB. I've cut the center by 3 dB, as I mentioned. We've used the UAD pool tech next. Let's listen without UAD. Pool tech's active. Awesome. I've made a dip in the 500 Hz range like this. I'm keeping the bandwidth quite wide. Let's process a high area here. At the same time, 30 Hz. Let's process it. At the same time, 30 Hz. So actually, we've done an A-tone yet on the sub-frequencies, which are the bass frequencies. So that too, we've added that in the same way. Besides this, like this funk, Hertz, in the line, to give it a bit of shine, we've brought the foreground out like this. Let's close it again. The pool is thick, much darker and in the middle. While in that state, the highs on the sides are heard more brightly, while the bass in the center sounds muffled, like mud. We've done a process by catching the frequencies around 500 Hz and cutting them off while also lowering the bass. Right after that, yes, we have an 1176 compressor. Let's listen to it again with no effect. In effect, we've managed to bring the mix forward quite a bit. Right after that, I've added an Ableton stock saturator and I've only used the soft sine. So one more click. The saturator is off, so it will be in the foreground. Saturator is on. It's come forefront right now. Let's replay it. Let's close the processes. The percussions are 2. As you can see, they completely disappeared. With the 4 of them, right now they're driving the track incredibly. Aside from our percussions, I also have something I named a life. I have a channel here for this. I've preferred to keep it separate. The processes I did here, I've actually frozen them and turned them into a channel. If we listen to it like this within the arrangement, at the very beginning of the track, it starts with a much shorter sustain. As the track opens up and progresses, The attacks and sustains are starting to become more defined. Now we're at the drop part. When the track drops again, look, the sustain has started to really lengthen. And then when the vocals come in, they will be pushed back quite a bit again. Here, because there are vocals, we want to make space for them. In the part where the vocals progress here, they will gradually open up again until the next drop. The 909 sound is open. This is a 909. I think it's vital. I've done some processing on it, but honestly, I don't remember what I did. Right now, just clearly by opening and closing the sustain writing automation, this hi-hat channel actually adds movement to the piece outside of the percussion. That's why I've kept it in the family. And here again, it's opening up quite a bit, intensifying. And in the drop section, in a 16th note way. So for example, if we look here with the percussion, this is the drop of the piece. Here they are rising as this. Life is closed. The percussion is building up here. In the same way, in this life, high, 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 even higher. They rise quite a bit, and the final drop of the piece. Or we've done the same process here as well. They will be heard like this under the vocals. Let's check it out with the super kick. Let's not hear the vocals now. Yes. Let's turn off the effects. Lives are closed, while only the percussions continue. Life is gradually raising this build-up in a subliminal way from below. When the burst comes in again in the background, because the percussions have already moved to the other layer, our amazing percussions were like this. Now, let's move on to the bass channels.